first thing I do when I get to Florida, I go to all of the high-end bars and I sit at the bar and I start shaking hands and talking to people. And of course, I meet the 2 top realtors at then.
Before you go farther, this drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Because people like you know that opportunities found in the conversations, opportunities 100%. Found in meeting people.
That's it.
Opportunities found in networking.
Yep.
And people in network marketing drive me crazy because they're like, I don't know anybody, but I posted something on social media and nobody responded and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, you can walk into every car dealership and place and say, I can only talk to the number 1 guy.
Yep.
You know, and then take that person to lunch and just see if there's something.
That's it.
Talk to every influencer in your town. Talk to every business person in your town. Just become known when you walk down the street. Talk to everybody. So please, ladies and gentlemen, get off your ass, out of your house, and go have some conversations with people who can bring you to something.
That's right.
Whatever that thing is. Welcome to the Excellence Project. My name is Eric Worre, and in today's episode, we're going to talk to Derek Fay, a serial entrepreneur, venture capitalist. He specializes in connecting people and helping companies grow and scale. I think that's something that all entrepreneurs can benefit from. So with no further ado, let's jump into my conversation with Derek Fay. Well, Derek Fay.
Yes.
How are you?
Any better, I'd be embarrassed.
We've been trading messages for some time. I'm glad we finally got together.
Indeed.
Last time when you were going to come in here, I completely lost my voice.
That's right.
I could not speak. My doctor told me, do not speak for 6 days, which I found out was pretty difficult to do. But I'm glad you're able to get back to town, back to the studio. We can have this conversation. Tell everybody what you do. What do you do as an adult entrepreneurial man?
Adult, maybe a stretch, but fair enough. It's funny, and I always preface this question. Typically, when someone says, what do you do? It's the easiest answer in the world. When people ask me, I go, buckle in. So I start with, at 22 years old, I started with a venture capital firm. Now, I called it a venture capital firm, but it's atypical in that it was all self-funded by me. So I wasn't bringing in money. And I really started out building my own companies versus investing in others. And so from 22 to now, somewhere in the neighborhood of about 30 different companies. I call it dirt to exit. So concept to sale, some public, most private, invested in countless other companies, real estate arbitrage, mergers and acquisitions, bolt-on roll-ups. My favorite kind of expression is, if I found out tomorrow that selling hot dogs was the most profitable thing to do, you'd find a goddamn Derek's Dogs on every corner. So I chase opportunity.
You even have the name. You ready?
It's trademarked. So listen, I'm a businessman. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a hustler from the word go. I love the game. I love seeing the chessboard and moving the pieces. So I saw Dan Martell yesterday and he goes, Derek, huge fan. You're the deal guy. And I go, okay, maybe.
The deal guy.
Trademark Derek's Deals.
The deal guy.
Yeah.
So about 30 companies that you've started yourself. And how many of those have you exited from?
Almost all.
Almost all.
And various. So I sold almost all of my portfolio in 2020. And the question was why? It's because everybody was rich in their mind.
The peak.
Everybody had money. Now, it's not to say I knew anything inherently was coming, good or bad. I just knew with interest rates so low, government giving away money, everybody felt far wealthier than they were. So it was my opportunity to A, sell higher than the companies were worth, and B, stockpile cash for the inevitable downside of anything that goes up must come down. And so now we're at least entering the phase of that.
You didn't feel the downside coming through COVID? There wasn't any opportunities created from that?
I don't want to say that I was so smart that I knew that it was coming. Other than to say, historically speaking, everything that goes up.
No, what I mean is you had the big peak and then COVID happens and it looks like there's going to be a down. And it was only for 60 days.
I was sweating every day of my life.
And then it was skyrocket.
Well, funny story. It wasn't funny at the time. It's only funny now because it worked out well. Right before COVID, 3 months before COVID, up until that point, I had never invested $1 in the stock market. I was very much, that's a casino. It's unreliable.
Do what you know.
Don't go. I'm investing in me. I invest in cash flow businesses. I build companies. And then I had a really, really interesting large exit. Woke up one morning with more money than I thought I should have in the bank. And I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to defy everything I've done my entire life. And I'm going to dump a disproportionate amount of money in the stock market. And then it dropped 50%. And I was like, I'm the kind of guy that, you deserve it, you dumbass. And so for 3 months, I was stressed out. I mean, luckily, and this will probably surprise you, of course, all of the advisors, don't do anything. It'll go up. Don't do anything. I go, okay, so I've lost half of an enormous amount of money. Amazing. If I do nothing and everything goes right, in X amount of months or years, I'll have exactly what I started with. That doesn't sound exciting. Why don't we liquidate and buy everything now at the bottom prices? And then if things go back to where it was, I'll double my money. You're a fool. Don't do it. You're a fool. And I go, well, I'm a fool for believing you in the first place. So I liquidated, took the loss. I had to switch portfolio managers because they told me I was bought everything at the bottom and then watched it go up and I'm doing very, very well.
Nice.
I don't suggest that, but I'm a guy. It's like, well, I would rather
the tax loss
do
is
something.
also beneficial, right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. But I'd rather do something than nothing. I'm not a big proponent of waiting, especially when things are going wrong, because then you're guaranteed nothing's going to happen.
Right.
So
interesting. So I got to back up a bit.
Sure. Go.
You say you start this venture fund.
Yes.
At 22.
Yeah. So let's see how we got there.
Yeah.
Yes. So as a teen, I called myself an intermediary venture capitalist. Now, let's be clear. That doesn't exist. It's not a thing. It sounded really
like
sexy.
An apprentice or something?
Well, or something.
You're on your way.
I wasn't
developmental.
In my mind, I was already there.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we can circle back to where I come from, which is, nothing. But my whole life, it was.
Yeah, I'm curious as to the origin story. I'm curious as to why you were driven that way.
Sure.
When other people weren't, because I'm sure you weren't. There wasn't a lot of examples of other people doing that around you.
Do you want to start there?
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So we talked about it a little bit today at WealthCon. So I was born in Rhode Island, actually the smallest town in the smallest state in the entire country. Single mom, remarried, had another child, my half sister. And unfortunately, the person that she remarried was horrifically abusive. So for the better part of, say, 8 or 9 years, we went through horrific, when I say torture, abuse, mental, physical, the worst possible scenario you could ever imagine. And so those are formative years. And,
what age to what age?
So I would have been 4 to 12.
Got it.
4 to 12. Big years. Big years. And so historically speaking, when you go through stuff like that, I should have done 2 things. 3 things. I should have probably had a bad addiction to something to mask the pain. And I probably, statistically speaking, would have become an abuser myself. And 3 would have been potentially prison. And all of those, except for the abuse, the other 2 things happened to my siblings. Now they have since kind of figured out a way through that. But for whatever reason, call it resilience, call it whatever you want to call it, I persevered through it. And I fueled my life with the desire to earn, because I equated power, which I had none of as a child, insecurity, which I had none of as a child, and money. And so my only goal in life, every second.
Choices, options, being able to say no.
That's right. And so that's what drove me. And
but before you go farther on that, I'm a big believer in just kind of evaluating. When I look back at my life, evaluate defining moments, right?
Yes.
Fork in the road.
Yep.
And you don't even know in the moment.
You don't, but in hindsight, you see it.
In hindsight, you see it. It's like there's millions and millions and millions of decisions you make.
Yep.
But there's probably like 20 or 30 that
change your life.
That if you would have said no to that or yes to that, or turn right or turn left or go straight.
Total different life.
Completely 100% different life.
Yep.
I'm wondering in this process, if there was some defining moment that helped you to differentiate your response to a bad situation from your siblings in that same situation. Some of them found a defining moment later in life, but you found a defining moment in that time. Is there anything that sticks out that's just like, that was like, nope, I'm going this way?
So I have, and we actually, it's funny you asked that. I'm glad you did, because we talked about it today. Because it's the one moment, and there was a lot of 8 years, a lot that happens, right? And this wasn't the worst, but there is this moment that sticks out. good memories and bad memories have a way of burning themselves into your brain. And so when I look back and someone asks me like, what is that one thing? I refer to it as, it's the closet story. And so it's a little dark, but I'll share it with you. My sister was 2 at the time. And so I'm 6, 2'6", 3'7", and big alcoholic. And so he locked myself and my sister in a closet for 3 days. Now, if that's not bad enough, no food, no water, nothing. Those old closets that are kind of slotted, so you can see out, but you can't see out. So I spent the better part between 6 and 7 years old, 3 days watching this man torture, rape, abuse my mom. And I've got my 2-year-old sister in there. And so it was a defining moment for me, I believe. As I said, I had a couple of options in that scenario. One was put my face in the corner and feel worse and more alone. Of course, I had the responsibility when my 2-year-old sister wasn't sleeping to comfort, or I could just watch and let it destroy me. And so I remember like it was yesterday, as I looked through, there was a little black and white TV, and Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous was on. This shows my age, right? Brady Bunch, things like that. And so I just inherently knew what was going on was wrong, although I didn't know anything else versus just accepting it. And so that TV was so important to me because in that moment, I remember thinking, this is the life that I'm living, but there is a better life out there. And so I'm watching the Brady Bunch with this loving family, and I'm watching Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, and I see palm trees and I see wealth. And even I can remember it today, I get goosebumps. That's the life I'm going to live. And so when I talk to people about obstacles and excuses, I tell them to find your TV. Yeah. So that for me, as a child.
Find something, that moment of inspiration.
Find something that no matter how bad your life is at any given moment, just practice redirection. Practice knowing that nothing good lasts forever. Nothing bad lasts forever. Everything changes. So just give it a minute. Yeah.
I give people 2 pieces of advice when they're in a bad situation. One is to get a picture in your mind of where they can be. The second one is to document the worst.
Yeah. We can look back on it.
Not only look back on it, imagine if you had documentation of the worst times of your career, the worst times of your life, to be able to show somebody today.
Oh man. Agreed.
Show them.
Sure.
Show them the eviction notice.
Here's the things I went through.
Show them
That's right.
getting kicked out of your house. Show them getting your car repossessed. Show them boxing up your shit in your job where you're getting fired. Document that stuff because it can be an inspiration for everybody.
I love that. I love that because everyone looks at success. I don't mean me, you, or pretend.
They don't
whoever.
see those pieces. They think you just flipped the switch.
They also see it as impossible. They don't see it as, man, I was where you are or worse. Pick your head up. Give it a minute, man. It'll come, So anyway.
Whatever happened to the abuser?
So my mom finally, now this was the problem back then. The police were called something like 75 times over like a 3 or 4 year period. Back then, the police could not keep the abuser out of the home unless, so this is where it would go down. Police would come, kids are beaten up, she's got her hair pulled out, bleeding. Did this man abuse you? He's standing right there. Now he said, because the police come, if you say yes, I'm going to come back and kill all of you. So what does she say? No. So they take him out to the end of the street and let him go. And now he comes back 10 times more angry. So it was a different time for sure. So it took a long time to get away. Eventually we did. And it then took another year of him chasing us around the state of Florida. Burnt her car, shot, gunned through the window.
When you're of age, was there ever a time when it crossed your mind that you were going to take matters into your own hands?
Of course.
Yeah.
And so I tried to do it as a kid. Of course, that, miserable failure. You guy's 6'6" and I'm a little child.
Yeah.
I ran into him one time. It was like 3 or 4 months before I left Rhode Island to go to Florida. I'm a big gym guy. I love the gym. I always have gone. One of those non-negotiables in my life. And I'm walking out of the locker room and he's walking in. I hadn't seen him in 10 years. And I don't know, as a man, you'll know this more than a woman. There's crying where your body is involved.
Yeah.
And then there's anger where tears are just coming out of your face. So that was my initial reaction. just tears. And then I lost my mind, attacked him, started beating the shit out of him.
Don't not blame you.
But in hindsight, and I mean almost immediately after, I felt awful.
Really?
Awful. And this is important to hear. I felt like I was him. I used my anger to express versus what I promised I would never do, which is kind of how I practice things now. I've never raised my voice to my children, a woman, nothing. It's just not who I am.
Yeah.
Because I've seen it at its worst, and I think bad things grow. And so in that moment, I was embarrassed. Now, am I mad that I punched him in the mouth? No, but I was embarrassed of how I handled myself. No, I'm not saying even sitting here today, I have any other way that I could have handled it. I'm just sharing how I felt. Yeah.
Yeah, man, I will tell you, I admire you for not going farther.
Listen.
Because it would be awful hard.
Awful hard. Well, I get out of Rhode Island for a lot of reasons.
But again, you're looking at these situations, right? And going, okay, how am I going to deal with this?
That's right.
What am I going to do about it? What am I going to allow it to make of me?
That's right. My sister has reconciled.
Really?
A year ago.
Wow.
Now, her being a female, there were also other types of abuse. And so my sister went to prison. Drugs, of course. Now, she went for a lengthy period of time. She has gotten out, found God, has become an incredible mother. Honestly, she's a far more impressive human than I am by a stretch. Proud of her in a way I can't even imagine. You can say I mean it, right? So she called me about a year ago and she said, I'm going to reach out to my father. And I was like, I don't know if that's a great decision, but she said, well, this is a part of my alcoholic AA is reaching out to people like that. And so she did. And she speaks to him on a monthly basis. I have a hard time wrapping my head around that, but if that's what she needs, then of course I support it. She had asked me if I wanted to share in that experience. Of course I passed. But he, through her, has told me that he has admitted everything that he's done. Not that changes anything. So that for me is, I'm rarely surprised in life. That one caught me. Pretty surprised. And I don't know if that's good or bad. I just know I certainly am not strong enough to practice that level of whatever that is.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's something about forgiveness, letting somebody rent space in your head. But that doesn't mean you need to forget.
Well, even further, I forgive what I don't forgive. I live with what happened. It doesn't affect me, but I'm not going to forgive your actions.
Right. So I have I'll tell you a story I've never told. I've never spoken of publicly, but I'll tell you anyway, because it's similar in a sense. And for the sake of anonymity, I would just say it was very, very dear friend, a person who is special to me back then and to this day. I was 24 years old, 25 years ago, 35 years ago.
A couple of days ago.
A few days ago.
Yeah.
And I grew up in the church and found out that this friend had been raped by a youth pastor for years, starting when she was like 14 years old. Okay. So I find out when I'm like 22, she's 20. And she's like, don't say anything, don't say anything, don't say anything. I was like, there's no way. This guy's still a youth pastor. This cannot be allowed to continue. Statute of limitations had kind of run out on criminal. But I'm like, this is not going to stand. So I called my friend, one of my early mentors. His name is John Joyce. I said, John, I just want you to come with me. I'm going to go to his house and just be there, be a witness, and don't let me kill him. So, go to the house.
Yeah.
Adrenaline, shaking,
anger,
beyond belief, ready to go. Knock on the door. Hey, come on in. Can we speak private? Yeah, Go down in his office. So I know what you did. And so he denies it.
Of course.
And no, listen, I know what you did. And it's like, no, it's not happening. So I lost my temper. Have you seen Dana White's Power Slap or whatever?
Of course, yeah. Just completely out of control. Yep.
Power slap.
Yep.
Forehand, backhand, hard as I could. Knocked everything off his desk. And I said, here's the deal. You leave the ministry. You leave this state. You go confess your sins to your congregation and you get the heck out of here. Or
tell everyone.
It's going to be war.
Yeah.
You decide what you want to do. And you know, I only hit him, 4 or 5 times. Just full palm, I never clinched my fist.
Palm can hurt worse than a fist.
Oh my gosh. I saw a glimmer of anger in his eyes.
Yep.
After like the second one.
Yep.
I like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Come on.
Please give me
Bring it.
More fuel.
Bring it, you piece of shit. But he didn't leave. He didn't leave. And we went to war.
Good.
The second most fun thing that I did in that situation. And I don't regret any of it.
Why would you?
Because it was a terrible thing to do to a young woman. Just terrible, terrible thing. Wrapped in spirituality and God. And
of course. Stuff. Yeah. What a disgust. Yeah.
Terrible. I found out he was going to have his church service. This is like a Thursday. He's going to have it on Sunday. Okay. I'm going.
Show up.
So I waited outside and waited till he started his sermon. I walked in, just sat down. And he did like, he couldn't,
of course.
He couldn't even, he asked the ushers, will you please? And I'm like, no. I'm like, not happening.
Just look at him.
Just stay there.
Yeah.
Like, tell me what you're going to say now.
Yeah.
So he had his awkward time, but we ended up, dealing with it in civil court, which is a terrible, terrible, terrible situation for victims and
of
everything.
Course.
It's an awful situation. But ultimately, he left the ministry, which is good. But that stuff leaves scars, man. Scars, long-term scars. People deal with it in different ways.
There's no doubt. I have a church story too. It's quick.
Do you?
It's quick.
Yeah, tell me.
So about halfway through this 8-year period, my mom. Now, believe it or not, this guy was church every Sunday. He was the guy you would have thought was. So about halfway through the 8 years, we were at church and my mom told the pastor what was going on. This man is doing all of these things. So he said, bring the kids in and bring him and my mom presuming thinking this is going to be fixed. And he looked at her and said, you need to forgive your husband and stay with him. So he had the power. It changed religion for me forever.
Yeah.
He had the power to help. And instead, knowing all of that information, he forced to stay. Wow. So there are moments that change things.
And here's what I would tell you.
That's a bad person, not a bad religion.
Exactly.
Agreed.
For all of it, both of these stories have nothing to do with spirituality.
100%.
Nothing to do with God.
Right.
Nothing.
Bad people.
Yeah, there are people who go in like bad people into good companies.
That's it.
There's all different types of things that happen. There's a lot of power involved in different power structures inside of religious organizations. Sometimes that gets abused. Sometimes it gets misused. Most of the time it doesn't.
Correct.
Most of the time people have giving hearts. And I'm a believer in people having a spiritual life.
Agreed.
And finding a set of standards and rules to live by that are going to be good, but you do get your eyes opened.
There's no
sometimes,
doubt.
when you're involved and deeply involved, you see, you eat from the tree of good and evil.
That's it.
The illusions fall off your eyes. You get to see things for what they are. And I think when you do, you become an adult. I think when you do, you just say, you know what? I'm going to look at this, not because somebody told me that I have to have a certain belief system, but I'm going to develop my own belief system.
That's right.
I'm going to pursue my own relationship with a higher power, whatever that is,
whatever
called,
that looks like,
whatever that's looked like. And I respect everybody that does that. So that was a tangent I didn't expect. To be able to have a conversation about all of that. But it's funny what formulates you, right? It's funny what causes you to do things. I grew up in a lower middle class family. We never really had what we wanted. We never went hungry. My mom and dad are still together today. 81 and 80.
Oh, wow.
My mom just celebrated her 80th and they're in good health and things are good. And, they've got I have 2 brothers, 2 sisters. So the older I get, the luckier I believe I was and am to have had them as great role models in my life. But not having enough.
Huge. The greatest motivator.
At the time, I wasn't willing to do something about it. I just wanted to have more. I was kind of lazy, but wanted stuff.
Yeah, well, you figure out quick that doesn't always work.
Yeah.
It takes a minute,
I found out you can complain indefinitely.
Complain your way to getting something?
Yeah.
I traveled that path.
Or just keep complaining about your lack of getting stuff.
Sure.
So anyway, I barely escaped high school. I have 18 dead-end jobs by the time I'm 23 years old. I say that to compare my journey to 22, 23.
Got it.
Your journey from 22 to 23.
Sure.
You got this super turbocharged thing that kicks in your teens. Tell me what that looks like.
Okay. So we're back to
this developmental
light bulb moments we talked about.
Venture capital. Yeah.
Intermediary. So as I said, I was, because of the abuse, I was driven to the gym. I wanted to feel powerful. I didn't know how to feel powerful emotionally because I had shut that off. So I thought the only way I can do that is to feel powerful physically.
When did you go to the gym?
Started about 12. Fell in love with it. Arnold, saw the book, and I'm like, that guy would never get pushed around. That guy would never be hurt. Of course, it's not true, right? But thinking back.
But likely no.
Likely no. Likely no. So I found a gym, and this is where it all started. The next big moment. And I remember the name of the gym. It was so important. Bodies Unlimited in Narragansett, Rhode Island. And anyway, I found a home with a bunch of guys that just animals, strong. And I felt, I'm the little kid, and I'm like, these guys, I'm going to be this one day. No one's ever going to hurt me. And then like someone pulled the rug out from underneath me. The owner came to me because I was like the kid that everybody, oh yeah, come on, Derek. I'm going to close the gym. Can't pay the rent. I'm devastated. Like till that point, it's probably one of the most important things in my life, right? And so I'm scurrying. How do I fix this? Because that's what I do. I fix, right? And so I think too, who's the richest man that I know? Now at the time, it's a guy in Narragansett who owns a BMW 3 Series. That guy is the richest man I've ever seen in my life. And so I go to him and I go, hey, bad news. Donnie's going to close down the gym. He goes, well, why? He goes, well, I think he's behind rent on a month or something like that.
I don't in 7th grade when you do this?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That takes some balls. How do you know this guy?
He worked out at the gym.
Okay.
Worked out of the gym. Drove in every day to the BMW. And I'm like, well, I'm going to have that one day.
Got it.
And so he goes, oh man, just tell him I'll give him the money. And I go, beautiful. So I run back and I go, Donnie, so-and-so is going to give you the money for the rent. He goes, are you kidding me? I go, no, yeah, he said he would do it. And he goes, I'll tell you what, you're never going to pay a gym membership again. You're my guy. Anything you want in this gym is yours. You want a shirt, you want a drink, it's yours. And I went, light bulb. And now I'm thinking, okay, so wait, if I have someone that needs something and I know someone that has something and I put them together, I get something, changed my life. Mm-hmm. So I started doing it. I called myself an intermediary venture capitalist.
So you were a connector.
I was a connector. And
and for some perks.
And took it. So at first it was perks, then it was $100, then it was $500.
So give me some examples. So you did this gym deal.
Uh-huh.
Does that guy come in and become part owner then or something of the gym?
I don't even know how that shook out. I know that he
just made the connection.
Made the connection.
You did it because you wanted to keep working out.
That's it.
Yeah, cool.
Got a free membership and that was it. And
which was plenty.
Which was
even if you didn't get a free membership, you're happy it was going to stay open.
That's right.
You didn't say, hey, if you're going to give me something.
No, just happened organically. Happened organically.
Got it.
But the ask came very shortly thereafter.
Sure, I get it.
And so let me find some other examples. I'm walking home from school from the school bus and I notice a bunch of lawns aren't mowed. And so I'm like, well, someone's got to mow those lawns. So I go knock on the doors and I'll go, hey, do you need your lawn mowed? Oh yeah, that'd be great. Okay. Well, like, is it once a day? I don't even know. Well, maybe once every couple of weeks. So I get 3 or 4 of them. Now my dad's buddy's a landscaper. And I go, hey, listen, I got a bunch of guys that want to mow their lawn. He's like, oh yeah. Okay. So introduce me. I go, okay. And I'm just kind of like looking, I'm afraid to ask. He goes, okay, I'll give you $20 per lawn. And I was like, here we go. And so then it just grew.
So how many lawns do you have at the peak?
No, that was just a one-off.
Just a one-off deal.
So at this point, I'm just,
you're just looking
I'm testing. I'm
looking
testing
for need solution.
I'm trying to figure out. So I've always been great at this. Even if I don't know what the opportunity is, I know that it's there.
Right.
And so I'm, in this period of my life, I'm testing things out. Like, what if I do this? How does somebody respond? So what I'm really learning is people. What does the ask look like? Should I lead with the ask? Should I wait for the ask? Should I not ask? And so I forget about making money. What I was getting an MBA in people. Because if you're going someone that's broke and someone that's rich, there's a completely different thought process. And very rarely do they ever come together. But I'm telling you, because I've done it, if you can communicate with both sides of the fence, and even at the highest level, that doesn't mean poor and rich. It means small business, or it could mean big business and hedge fund, which is really what I do now. That is powerful stuff. And it all started as a kid.
So like people in network marketing, for example, or solopreneurs.
Yep. Very similar.
There's a need
Yep.
Over here that they see.
Yep.
People need a ride to go somewhere. I have a car, or this person has a car. So Uber gets in between.
You're damn right. Yep.
Right. And they say they fill that need.
Great example.
Or, there's not, the reason why network marketing, I think, is a little bit better than the average solopreneur gig economy thing is you can be that connector.
Yes.
And you don't have to drive the car.
Correct.
You can drive it on top.
Right. Yep.
But you could build a whole fleet
Sure.
of people. Like, so whether it's, pick a product line inside of network marketing, here's the marketplace. When I look at products and needs out there, is there a need?
Yep.
Does the product meet the need? Is it priced to sell?
Yep.
Is it priced for profit? I ask those 4 questions.
And if you check those boxes,
If I check those boxes, I'd say, okay, is this organization over here dependable enough to be able to continue to deliver?
to fulfill.
Can I get in between those two?
Yep.
Build a connection, create some leverage.
So it's exactly what I've done my entire life.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
never got into MLM or affiliate,
Yeah.
but I was kind of doing it in my own way.
Yeah. So you understand the model.
100%.
And for people who are just getting involved in wanting to flex their entrepreneurial muscle,
Yep.
I say for a solopreneur, somebody without a lot of funds,
Or none.
or
close to
education, or experience, or knowledge or skill, this is a place for the best place for the average person to go to get leverage. 4 things that we do inside network marketing. They sell their product themselves, directly selling.
Media.
They recruit an ever expanding team,
Yep.
because these people are looking for opportunity. These people have an opportunity,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
They duplicate that process over and over like a franchise model.
Yep.
And benefit a smaller percentage, but on a bigger group.
Yep.
And they increase the productivity of the teams that they build based upon their leadership.
So you just described how I would tell someone to scale a business.
Yeah.
So it's probably the greatest platform someone starting out could ever have, because all of the things you just said, you could equate back to building whatever.
The only difference between traditional business is you better have money.
You better way easier, but fundamentally
you better have skill.
That's right.
You better have contacts.
That's right.
You better have background.
That's right.
Because if you don't, a person who doesn't have those things is going to find a way for their money to be taken by somebody who's smarter than them.
Agreed.
Right?
Yep.
Because how many businesses fail? What's the percentages?
Oh, it's off the chart.
It's a huge number.
It's 100. Yeah.
And there's
huge
devastation laid in the wake.
That's right.
Of all of that. So you play, I'm going to call it connector.
Yes.
You play super connector.
Yep.
From 12 to 22. A bunch of different things.
Yep. Bigger and bigger over time.
Are you making money?
Not a little bit at first.
Yeah.
And then by 22.
Did you go to school? College?
I went to college for 60 days.
Me too. One trimester.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So by 22, I was a liquid multimillionaire.
What?
Yeah.
So hold on. Unpack that.
Okay.
You said you made a little bit.
I said a little bit at first.
Oh.
Yeah, it grew as I got to be. So what I found out was the largest barrier between big and small was my age. Who wants to do a big deal with a 16-year-old kid?
Yeah, and less. Here's how I tricked my brain on that thing, because I had the same, who's going to listen to somebody in their early 20s, whatever.
Sure.
I said, if I could position myself as a wonder kid, like
you got it.
young Bill Gates or a young,
Sure.
Zuckerberg or something, equivalent today.
Yeah. Well, those guys didn't really exist back then.
But there was always an example of somebody like
100%.
that. Steve Jobs or whatever. If I could position myself this wonder kid type of thing,
Sure.
Get close to this kid,
Yep.
then I could overcome that. And I also learned that if I played myself down and I play up to older people's egos, I could meet anybody.
We just talked about it. I think self-deprecation is a superpower that most people don't understand.
Let me give you my opinion on self-deprecation. I think there's two sides to it.
I agree with you. Yep.
I'll tell you where I'm going with it. One side is play myself down. I'm just this young kid trying to make a break, and you're big and strong and powerful.
Yep.
And
I'm sorry. I mean today.
No, I know.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm talking about all times.
Yeah.
Using it as a door opener to, I found out that flattery has to be pretty thick before anybody objects to it.
Fair.
You know what I mean? For a successful person.
Yeah. Stop.
It's just like, So you ever go into like a retail store, high-end retail store, and they just gush and gush and gush?
Yeah.
I mean, they're doing it.
I know I look horrible. Stop.
But, I
don't look good in these.
But it still doesn't bother you.
Of course not.
But I did find that was a good door opener for me. Because if I tried to pretend I was something that I wasn't, then everybody was just going to poke holes in it. And everybody's going to say, come on, stop.
That's fair.
Come on, kid.
Yep.
Show me then.
Sure.
If you're such a big deal.
Yep.
But the other side, if self-deprecating as a long-term habit can become self-destructive because your self-talk, I'm small, I'm nothing, I'm this, I'm clumsy, I'm forgetful, I'm a procrastinator. All these different types of things can start to become self-destructive. So long as you're conscious that that's not really what you think about yourself.
That is an important,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just found myself in that trap later in life.
Did you?
Yeah. Okay. It was a huge part of my self-worth journey, starting at around age 40, 45.
Interesting.
That my self-deprecation, I was always an earner, but my self-deprecation habit kept me from retaining wealth. I could always earn, but I always found a way to make that investment or whatever, because I'm just this scrappy underdog.
Interesting. See, I was the other way. So in my 20s and 30s, I led with supreme confidence. And in thinking back, I know that I did it so much that I made other people feel bad about themselves. And so now I lead with self-deprecation, but trust me when I tell you, I don't necessarily believe that, but I understand one thing. Inherently, and I know you that know this to be true, when you meet certain people, they create a space between them and you because they don't feel worthy. I don't like that. I use self-deprecation and humbleness to bring.
We're the same. Relatability.
You are damn right. And so I have a delusional confidence in myself, but I like to say that's a gift I keep for myself. So I don't waver on the inside.
I like both. I like it's a combination. It depends if I know somebody.
If I'm in a room with Zuckerberg and Musk, I may or not, right. But you have to be able to read the room, and that comes with age. You know what I mean?
If I'm building a team,
100%.
I will talk about my challenges in the past so I can stay relatable.
Point of reference, yeah.
But then I'm going to be the strongest visionary I could possibly be.
Yes. To
let them own a piece.
So it's a case by case.
You know?
It's 100%. I agree.
Isn't it funny how you kind of move around and
it's
how
hard
you communicate with different groups?
I agree. And that's something you can't teach to people.
Yeah.
And so if someone listening is like, well, wait a minute. So which one am I supposed to do in any given situation?
It's a little of both. And it's not being inauthentic.
It is not.
When I have to be careful with self-deprecating today because I'll make it a reality.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean I can't tell a story.
Fair enough.
About a difficult time or a difficult situation or a place when I was just where they were.
Yeah.
And you and me are exactly the same. We thought the same. I thought that too.
Yeah.
Let me tell you where I took it.
Yep.
And then show them a way out.
Yeah, fair enough.
Show them a way out. But for sure, a tactic was when I was first in network marketing, I would go to people successful like yourself. Imagine, how old are you today?
44.
44 years old.
Yep.
and I'm 23.
Okay.
Okay. And I've had 18 jobs.
Okay.
And we both go to the same church or something. And you know me.
Yep.
Okay. Our families know each other.
Sure.
If I come to you strong, what's going to happen? If Derek, I've got the opportunity of a lifetime.
Yeah. You immediately.
This is going to be the most amazing thing ever. Yeah. When I thought of somebody who succeed, I thought about you. 1 + 1 adds up to 10. Let's you and I kick some ass.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to be like, kid, come on.
Just slow down.
Come on.
Slow down.
Just like, I love you.
Yep.
But you haven't spent more than 90 days in any job. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
In the
Agreed.
next 90 days,
Agreed. Right.
So
that's too strong.
So I learned, because I tried that.
We all did.
I learned.
We all did.
I went and it said, Mr. Fay, I've admired you
there it is.
For years.
Yep.
And I respect what you've done in your business. You've forgotten more about business than I probably have ever learned. I'm a young kid trying to take a shot.
Right.
I feel like I found something, but what do I know?
What do I know? And the difference, instead of me going back, I come forward.
Yeah. Would you ever, and I'll make it easy on you. I'm not going to take a lot of your time. I know you're busy. Would you ever do me the great pleasure, just looking at what I'm doing and tell me if you think I'm making a mistake or if I'm going the right direction? I'll come to you. I'll make it easy. It'll be quick.
Yeah.
And if you point me in the right direction, I'll tell everybody that you are the guy that pointed me in the right direction. It would mean the world to me. I found out that people would drive across town to help somebody who came to them humble like that.
Absolutely. And if they don't, they weren't the person you wanted mentoring you anyway.
And you know what else I found out? Entrepreneurs, when looking at an opportunity, can't help but connect the dots. You don't even have to do it.
Absolutely.
You don't even have to tell them there's an opportunity for you.
Nope.
I said, no, this is not for you. I just want to show you what I'm doing.
That's
and they're going to be going,
wait a minute.
I know this and this and this and this.
That's right.
And this kid might have found something.
That's right. What if?
Yeah.
What if?
So I ended up signing people with that approach.
Sure.
So anyway, it's and other people, I call it a direct approach, indirect approach, super indirect approach. Direct is, you look up to me, I got something for you, get over here, sit down.
Let's go. Yep.
Let's go make some money.
That's right.
Indirect is kind of peer level. Let's explore something. You and I are exploring different things.
Put some eyes on this. What do you think about it?
What do you think? What do you think?
Yep.
I think there's something here. I've got an intuition. I'm not sure.
It'll go off and
right. Yep. And then there's people who are super indirect that are, if you're talking to Elon Musk or something, you say, I know this isn't for you, but
should it ever be?
Yeah.
I'm your guy.
Yeah. Or do you know anybody?
That's right. Even better.
Know that has needs an opportunity, is hungry, ambitious, money motivated, and doesn't have an opportunity with you right now.
Right. Agreed.
Looking for a fit. Right. So I found that I can use all those approaches. They're all authentic.
100%.
In order to be able to get where I want.
Again, it's reading the room.
Yeah.
You're reading the person that you're talking to.
I just want to jump in and quickly interrupt this podcast interview and give those of you involved in network marketing a very special message. And that message is this: if you want to grow your business, I can help. If you're just getting started, you don't have any recruits yet, you don't have much of a team, I can help you get to your first 10 recruits. If you got some recruiting going on, but you need more help with duplication, I can help you on your journey from part-time to full-time. And if you're a serious player, I can help you scale and grow your business. All you have to do is go to goproacademy.com, goproacademy.com. Wherever you are in your journey of network marketing, this program will help you get where you want to go much, much faster. I've helped millions of people learn how to recruit. I've helped tens of thousands of people get to 6-figure a year income. And I've helped over 500 people get to a 7-figure annual income inside of this network marketing profession. I can help you too. Go to goproacademy.com, goproacademy.com. So, all right. So back to, how'd you get a couple million by 22?
I started doing the same thing with businesses.
So tell me about that.
So it's actually a smaller scale of what I do now on a larger scale. So I would find smaller fledgling companies, small. And I was always really good, and still am, at seeing through an operational eye, seeing problems, seeing opportunities. And so I took that, and I don't know where that came from, just we have these skills, right? And I'm very, well, you know, the reference Rain Man, obviously. When it comes to numbers, I'm a little Rain Man-y. Not a word, but
I get it.
Numbers speak to me. You show me a P&L and a balance sheet, I'll tell you things, we've talked about this, about your company, you don't even know. And so I took that ability and seeing opportunity again in small companies and other small companies that had different strengths. And I'm going to use landscaping because I did my father's landscaping buddy, and showed him how to pair up with other smaller landscape companies inside of the state of Rhode Island. I'm sorry, Narragansett and South Kingstown, and they became a larger. So okay, so this guy's got, you know, Lake Worth Street through, you know, Jones Street, and this one's got this over there, and now they're having a problem servicing because they have limited staff, but this guy's got more staff and limited opportunity, and so okay, wait a minute, so if you put the two together, you can service the greater opportunity.
So how did you see all the pieces?
I don't have the answer to that. I just always.
How did you even know that they existed?
I looked. Now see that, I'm so glad you said, because I love this analogy. If you've never had a yellow car,
Yeah.
and you buy a yellow car,
Yeah.
you see them every day and you're like, I've never seen a yellow car in my life.
Yep.
So to me, my yellow car was opportunity. Because I came from nothing, all I looked for from infancy until today is opportunity in everything. Everything I ever looked at.
You're a raw entrepreneur. If they put you on a beach, you're going to try and find a business there.
And I would.
Of course.
Right now, I'm like, I can think of five of them. Exactly. And so you find what you're looking for, right? And so I always knew that money wasn't transactional. Money was value that moves, right? And so if you follow, you know, this bottle cap, it started somewhere and now it was created. And so I've always started at the end and followed back to origin and said, if there are 14 steps between that, can I do any of one of those 14 steps? Yes or no? No, perfect. Do I know anyone that can do any of those 14 steps? Yes or no? Do I know anyone that could benefit from that I could show these 14 steps that they don't know about? Inevitably, if you keep looking at deals and opportunities in that micro way, you find somewhere to create value either for yourself or through somebody else. And so I just kept doing that. No?
So in this particular case, this case study, you have your father's friend.
Yep. Landscape.
Has a landscape thing. And there's surrounding other landscape companies. How many other ones?
The first one was just two. So I brought two together.
So
I'm like 17.
You're 17 years old. How do you put together this thing in a way that they just say, thanks, 17-year-old, go away. We're gonna do this without you.
Only because it was my father's friend in retrospect. Otherwise they would have been like, get the hell out of here, kid.
So what did they give you?
He stood up and first he tried to give me a salary, and God bless him and my father. I told him straight up, listen, I don't want to work for anybody ever.
So this is the same father?
Oh, no, that was my stepfather.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
I was struggling with this connection.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
It won't go too far off, but it's a funny story. My dad made me, you're going to take a job in this company. He wants to give you way more money than he's paying anybody else because you put this deal together. Right. And so first day on the job, sent me to an atrium, an exotic flower atrium. And I got my head down. I'm not paying attention. I'm pissed. I told you I'm not going to work for anybody. And I put this deal together. So guy gives me a weed whacker and he goes, go in the back and whack everything. And I go, what does that even mean? Whack. He goes, press the button and whack everything. I go, fine. So I went out there and I whacked everything. Came back, got in the car, we drove away, gets a phone call 20 minutes later. I can hear the person screaming.
Whacked all the flowers?
Every one. Well, I mean, like rare flowers from like Japan, all just
you're
whacked everything.
You're not a construction guy.
I'm not a construction guy. Yeah. So anyway, I didn't keep that job, but he gave me a weekly check that would have been like for working. And so I scaled it.
How did you scale it?
I kept doing the same.
So the check, did you scale it inside the same company?
No. Now he took that concept, and if I'm not mistaken, he's the largest landscaper in the entire state of Florida, state of Rhode Island right now.
So he did. Do you still get paid by him? No. So how long did he pay you?
Till I left Rhode Island.
And that was how long?
4 years.
For how much?
5.5 years.
And how much did you make for that connection?
I think at first he was paying me $1,000 a week
$1,000 a week.
at 17.
Not bad.
Not bad.
For 4 or 5 years.
For 4 or 5 years.
And he probably made way more than
Oh my God.
that. Like if you did that same deal today,
I would take 50% equity in the company minimum.
50% equity.
50% minimum.
Yeah.
Minimum.
Any plus a royalty or
I would just take the 50% equity.
right. Yeah. And then scale.
And then scale and then push and take my distributions and then take my 50% at exit, which is what I do now.
Got it.
Right.
All right.
Yep.
So what other things led you to stockpile this money to be ready to go?
So at 8,
Because guess what most kids would do if they got $50,000 at 17 years old?
buy shit.
They'd buy shit.
Buy shit.
They'd party and they'd buy a car.
Well, I never had a sip of alcohol
move into an
until a
apartment.
day before my 21st birthday.
Yeah. They would buy shit.
Of course. So at 18 or 19, I bought my first suit and went to like a presidential, like.
How much was the suit?
Oh man, I'm trying to remember. It felt expensive. It might have been like $300-400. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God.
I remember Success Magazine came out with this because I read it every time it came out. And they said the article was the magic of the $1,000 suit. And this was, gosh, long time ago, in the late 80s, like 90, like 1990.
So I'm in the 90s then. Yeah.
Yeah.
James, so that's
$1,000 suit. And one of the things is don't puss out and buy a $900 suit.
well, I missed the mark.
You got, no, so I'm like, So I did.
Yeah.
I went and found me $1,000 suit. You just get some different shirts, whatever.
Yeah.
But when you want to feel like you're ready to go,
Sure.
go get that suit. So anyway, side note.
That's hilarious.
But so funny how
So
things happen.
funny.
So you get your suit.
Yes. Went to the presidential dinner and made up these ugly ass business cards and called myself an intermediary.
What's the presidential what?
It was actually, I take it back. It was maybe like a Rhode Island senator or Congress because the dinner, which we can get to, was actually in Florida and it was for Bush.
Okay. Got it.
Senior.
Yep.
So Congress, something like that. It might have been Buddy Cianci, the mayor at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Only felon mayor in the state of Rhode Island.
There
Went
you
to
go.
prison, came back out, got reelected. Anyway, handed out business cards, started to make connections. And to your point, when I met people and handed the card, who are you? Well, first of all, you don't start by justifying because you're already dead in the water. It was just, I'm Derek Fay. Nice to meet you. Here's my card. And they're like, okay. But first I thought this kid was, and I started just leverage my stories. They weren't untrue the way I described them. They might have been a little grand,
They're packaged.
a little grander for sure.
A little advertising involved.
Yeah, no, I know. Look, I'm 19 years old. I take small companies, I merge them together, we grow, and it's all there. You're hooked. You're hooked, right? And then those connections led to some really interesting stuff. And so then, so I'm 19, 20. I left Rhode Island in 2002, and I've got $2 million and change. And within a month of
Before you go farther,
yeah.
what does your mom think of all this?
So I had transitioned from living with my mom to living with my dad.
Stepdad.
No, my dad.
Dad.
No, okay. So the stepdad was the abusive.
Oh, go. Okay. I got it right.
Yep.
Right.
So during that whole time, my
Couldn't take it anymore.
My actual father, right, was trying to get custody the whole time. But in Rhode Island, especially then,
Sure.
father had no rights.
Right, of course.
So he did his best. Finally, I moved with my father, and so didn't have a ton of contact with my mom.
Was she still with the?
No, she had gotten away.
Okay,
Yeah, gotten
good.
away.
Thank God.
And so lived with my dad from, I'm going to say maybe 13 or 14 till 18. I moved out on my own and started, right. And so my mom did move me to Florida and worked for me for 12 years.
Yeah.
Whole nother story. So moved to Florida, feeling pretty good about myself, launched my management company, 3F Management. Again, I didn't know what that was. Just knew I wanted to have a big, robust company and started, did this real estate deal, which I've talked about. I know you've probably heard about it. I turned $70 into $5 million in 20 days.
No. Tell me this story.
Let me tell you that one. One of the first deals I did. So again, first thing I do when I get to Florida, I go to all of the high-end bars and I sit at the bar and I start shaking hands and talking to people. And of course I meet the two top realtors at then
Before you go farther, this drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Because people like you know that opportunities found in the conversations, opportunities
100%.
found in meeting people.
That's it.
Opportunities found in networking.
Yep.
And people in network marketing drive me crazy because they're like, I don't know anybody, but I posted something on social media and nobody responded and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, you can walk into every car dealership and place and say, I can only talk to the number one guy.
Yep.
You know, and then take that person to lunch and just see if there's something.
That's it.
Talk to every influencer in your town. Talk to every business person in your town. Just become known when you walk down the street. Talk to everybody. So please, ladies and gentlemen, get off your ass, out of your house, and go have some conversations with people who can bring you to something.
That's right.
Whatever that thing is. Yep. So
and don't prejudge the person. Just talk.
Don't prejudge. Just talk.
Just talk.
Just have conversation. And the only purpose of the conversation is keep it going. And keep the conversation going and stuff. We've had our conversations going.
That's right.
We're going to do some business together.
That's right.
I don't know what it even looks like. It's going to happen.
That's right.
So anyway, sorry for the rant.
No, but you're right.
You walk in, you start going to all these bars. You're having a good time. Plus you're meeting
people. Important part here is never lead with an ask. Pretend the ask doesn't exist because people feel it, especially people that are more successful. Just ask questions, create a relationship. So anyway, I do that. They invite me out to lunch. Hey, kid, you know, they're in their 50s. You want to go out to lunch? I've been to Naples. I'm like, I've never been to Naples. I'm in Fort Myers. So I get all jazzed up, dressed up, feeling good. We're heading to Naples. They get a phone call. You mind if we make a stop? Of course not. And so we pull into this low income housing development, hundreds of units. And they asked me to come inside with them. So I do. I'm kind of around the corner, just paying attention. And the new owner has called in all of the big realtors in the area because he wants to pre-sell these units. And so he's really just saying, how many do you want? I got about 150,000 in margin on these client. So we leave and I asked them, so what are you going to do? Are you going to, we sell $10 million homes. We have no interest in this bullshit. Oh, perfect. Go to lunch, come home, get on my computer. In 2002, low income residents, if it's going to be converted to high-end condominium, have first right of refusal. You with me? Mm-hmm. So what do? Draft letters. You're a tenant. You may not know this. Great news. Your low income, your unit is going to be converted to a high-end condominium and you have first right of refusal. This means if you can, you have massive equity in your new home. If you don't, I will give you $1,000 if you assign me your rights. So I pay $70 to a courier to deliver them so that there's a knock at the door and on it, important, urgent. So of course they open it up. A couple of days go by, nothing happens. I'm like, shit, I could have sworn that was going to be a good idea. Phone starts ringing. 250 people within 14 days assigned me the rights to their
214?
50.
250 people out of how many?
340, somewhere in that range, over 300.
Okay. They assign you the rights for 1,000 apiece?
Correct.
Okay.
Now I've got a problem.
Yeah.
One, if the owner of the building says, okay, buy all of them, well, obviously I can't do that. Two, at some point I'm going to have to pay these people $250,000. Mm-hmm. So I've got a clock that's ticking. Mm-hmm. Okay.
How long do you have?
Who knows? I'm swinging from the rafters.
Got it.
Right. And so if they hadn't been so blinded by the fact that they thought they were losing 150K times 250, they didn't even do the research into who I was. Now, I was very good on the phone. They're very upset with me. I even, at the end of it, sent an email after asking for their account information for their escrow account. Just like, I'll give it a shot. And so long story short, within 22 days, they came to me and said, what do you want? What do you want to give back these units? And I said, well.
Who's they now?
The new owner of the complex, big real estate fund.
Got it.
REIT. And so I go, listen, I'll tell you what, I'm going to make a lot of money on this, but if I don't have to do anything, give me 20K per unit. 5 million. Agreed and paid. $70.
$70 to 5 million.
And 4 or 5 years later, and then since then, we've done 2 other deals together. They've reached out to me. Hey, remember us? I'm like, oh yeah, man. I talk about you all the time. Hey, we've got this new project. We wonder what your look on it is.
See, it's not a lack of opportunity. It really is anywhere. It's just a lack of imagination.
100%.
Could anybody have done what you did?
Anybody.
Yeah.
Yep.
Could somebody with more age, more experience, more whatever. How old were you when you did this?
23,
23 years old?
23, 22, 23. And the question is, and people talk about this, and we don't have to spend too much time on it, but A, would you have recognized the opportunity? Not you, of course, but anyone. Maybe.
I find if I have a superpower, it's awareness. I see things that other people don't see. I see opportunities. I can smell it that other people don't see.
Even if you don't know quite exactly.
And sometimes I'm just in the room.
That's right.
And it flew over everybody else's head.
Like,
but I got it.
You just go, wait a minute.
It just went ding.
Yeah.
And my life's different now. You know?
Mm-hmm.
One little thing. I remember one guy, his name was Johnny Daniel, big old cowboy, was on stage. He said, you could tell the size of the man by the size of the problem it takes to get him down. Everybody else ignored it. And I went, I'm not going to be a little bitch anymore.
That's right.
I'm just not complain about that. That's not the size of me.
That's right.
I'm not going to do that anymore.
Yep.
That affected me my whole life.
Course.
Everybody else ignored it.
Yep.
Everybody else just like, oh, ha, ha, ha. That's funny.
Yeah.
So awareness, being able to see something.
Yep.
And then sometimes people can have awareness
and then
they get stuck in their head.
That's right. Fear.
Yeah.
What if? Hate to keep saying it,
they
but
just keep going circle, circle, circle. What am I going to say? You know, what if they ask the wrong question? Or what if they say, pay me right now? Or what if they say, what if these guys force me out? What if I get into legal trouble?
That's right. And then you're paralyzed
and you missed it.
It's gone.
So what caused you to take action when other people wouldn't?
I come from a place where I've never had anything to lose. So even if you
had a couple million at that time.
Yeah, but I wasn't going to get in trouble for sending out some letters. To be fair, I wasn't positive. I wasn't positive about that. In fact, if you need evidence of that, I actually bought back then a burner phone. I had like a voice message. Like,
right, that's what I'm saying.
This is the offices of 3F Management. So I wasn't positive, but I didn't care. I didn't care. I was going for it.
Yeah.
For me, I'm like, well, the worst case is maybe there's a lawsuit, maybe not. I'm going to plead ignorance. There's an opportunity here, and I'm going to go for it.
Yeah.
And I've always been that way. It's never changed for me. Am I a little bit more now methodical in evaluation and stuff like that? But still.
You know what entrepreneurs do?
There's lessons in it.
They say yes, they tell the world, then they figure it out.
You're damn right.
Usually.
That's right.
And they act pretty quick.
You have to. Speed to opportunity is everything. That's right.
You know, but in getting there.
100%.
It's like, you know, my friend Richard Branson, not the name drop, but there was a big difference between his risk tolerance on the way up
then now
and his risk tolerance today.
It changes for sure.
He's like, now he's going to license stuff. He's not going to necessarily put some money in. He's going to let other people operate and do the risk stuff. He'll show up and kiss babies, you know, shake hands.
But that's earned.
Of course.
But that's earned.
Of course.
That's right.
Of course.
There's massive value in being first. There just is. And people don't understand it. And I talk about it all the time. Everyone looks at opportunity as transactional, meaning here I am. I see the opportunity. I don't know if I can deliver on that transaction, so I stop. Versus I know if I get there first, it's actually not transactional. It's value and leverage.
Right.
And so if I get there first, I have the leverage. And if I have the leverage, I now own value. And if I own the value, then I can decide how that opportunity is dispersed.
Right. So one part of what you do and what you've done is just being a connector.
Yes.
Same thing all solopreneurs, entrepreneurs can do.
Yes.
Be a connector, create opportunity for yourself.
And others.
And create opportunity for other people and bring scale.
Yep.
Into the situation wherever you can, because that increases the opportunity for everybody. Scale, you know, normally, not always, but scale normally is a good thing.
Agree.
Second thing you've done is come into companies that were struggling and take them to a better situation.
Yes.
Talk to me about how you've done that.
A lot of different ways. One of them is what I call a shadow CEO. You and I talked about it a little bit. So if they're a struggling company, they're various sizes. I've done Fortune 500. I've done, Joe's Landscaping on the way up, right? And so the overriding sentiment is you can't see the forest from the trees, right? And that's true at the highest level. And so how I developed this is when I started my core company, 3F Management, in the early 2000s.
What does 3F stand for?
It was my motto then: formulate, fine tune, follow through. That's it. Yeah. And there's 3 letters in Fay, and that was really it. But it's funny, people thought there was sort of 3 generations of Fays, but it's certainly not the case. So I know what I want to do, but I didn't have the practical experience. And so I came up with a pitch. I went to companies, dressed up. Here's my presentation, great PowerPoint. And I'm talking about how I can reduce expenses, create new revenue, do all of these blockbuster things. And I'm still pretty young, but I've got it down where I'm respected-ish. And, they're sitting there, everyone's shaking their head like, can this kid just shut up? And so out of respect, they're like, well, what is this going to cost? And that's where I had them. It's all free. Okay, it's free. What does that mean? I go, listen, if I can't reduce expenses and I can't make a meaningful difference in your P&L in an X period of time, I'm out the door. If I can, I'm going to take 20% of found money. And some still said, go screw, I'm not going to do this. But some said yes. And so forget about the money that I made, which was good. What I got was an MBA. So I got access to chief financial officers, financial statements, HR, policies, procedures. I got an MBA, in a real-time MBA in some really good companies and some really bad companies. So I got to decide, I like this, I don't like this. Now, when I do my thing, here's what I'm going to take. And so it just kind of all came together. And so it's funny how over life decisions stack, both good and bad. And I've got examples of both, but that's kind of how I got to where I think I can sit here at 44 and say, you can put me in any situation at the highest level. It doesn't matter how simplistic or complex it is when it comes to business operations or anything to do with business, and I can add value. I believe it. I know it. I've done it. Right. And that's equal parts success and confidence. But either way you look at it, it's factual. And so that's one of the ways that I've both long-term made money and also been able to leverage my reputation where I've stood in as an interim CEO for a very short period of time for equity and made 7-8 figures in doing so.
So in this experience now, give me some of the biggest mistakes you've seen entrepreneurs, founders, solopreneurs, any of these different kind of psychographic group of people.
Okay.
While they're trying to build a business. Well, what are the mistakes that you see that they make that are kind of the lessons, the patterns that you walk in and say, oh, there's an ego problem here, or oh, they got a blind spot over there, or oh, they're thinking too short term or too long term, or what?
I would say small to mid-sized. The number one biggest is the founder CEO, because typically it's come out of their soul. They believe that what is important to them should be important to the company. And that's just not always true. In fact, most of the times, and the bigger you get, it's actually really detrimental. You don't matter. The bigger you get, the less you matter to your company. Now, of course, you're important for a lot of reasons, but day to day, you're almost meaningless. And so the biggest mistake is thinking, that you micromanaging, that's a big one, right? I did it. Hired great people, stood on the top of their head, didn't let them do anything, made them feel like shit. Pivotal moment, my COO came to me and was like, D, you're amazing at what you do. I'll stay with you forever, but I'm good at what I do too. Please let me do my job. And I felt assaulted because I knew I was wrong. And when I finally did it, changed everything. I went from good to great to holy cow, like I'm free to do all of these things that are not being done. So micromanaging, believing that your belief system matters to your company. It doesn't. The consumers, you stay true to what your product is. You set the value that your company, your product has, and that is the only guiding factor. Your company doesn't have political beliefs, doesn't have religious beliefs, doesn't care how you feel on any given day. I see that as being one of the bigger things in small to mid range. When you get mid to large, I think the biggest thing is associate treatment.
So talk to me about the trickle down when it comes to how people are treating employees.
Yeah, so I think trickle down is another way of saying poor accountability. I think in the larger companies, there's incredible initial leadership, right? Here's exactly the plan. Here's how everything is going to go. And then I'm so busy and important that here, go do it. And then when they do go and do it, and there's massive success, I'm the guy. When they don't, there's no accountability. You're damn right. But guess what? The companies that really succeed in really meaningful ways, those are the guys that stand up for their people and say, that was my fault. That was my miss. That was my loss. Because it is. no matter how far down you go that line, even if what you started was done perfectly, it is ultimately your responsibility that make sure that your message is relayed all the way effectively down that line. And I think that is a sign of really poor leadership. And although sometimes it can take, unfortunately, too long for that to become present before you know that it actually is the guy in the top's fault.
Yeah.
In my experience, I'm really good at tracking the problem, where it is, to how far it goes. And that's been my experience in the larger companies.
The interesting thing is, like, I think everybody starts with the customer first.
Yep.
And then they, at whatever cost.
Yep.
And then their customer, in addition to the actual consumer of their product or service, their customer becomes their employee also.
Okay. Agreed.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So they start treating their employees like customers. In other words, you're making sure they have a good experience as well.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Through that whole process. I haven't always been good at that.
Okay.
You know, I see companies that are not always good at that. I kind of see three questions. Maybe this is the last kind of big question for you. You know, we're going to have to be continued.
100%.
There's a lot that we need to talk to
100%.
about how to grow, how to scale, how to do all these different things, lessons learned, everything else. But for the sake of time, in companies, I see three distinct characteristics that shift over time. One is their culture.
Yes.
What are they known for? What do they want to be known for?
Sure.
What are their standards? What's important? What are they going to say no to?
Yep.
What are they going to say yes to? What are the rules that they abide by?
Sure.
And how do people feel about all that?
Yep. And is it real, or is it only consumer facing?
Is it real or just consumer facing? Is it non-hypocritical?
That's right.
Right. Second is their vision.
Yep.
Where are we going? Why should I care? Why should I be important to be involved? Does the vision extend to the customer? Does the vision just inside the team? But is that consistent as well? Does it align with the culture?
Correct.
And then third is strategy, game plan. How are we going to make all that stuff happen, which is constantly changing in a changing world?
Right.
Right. In those three buckets, what do you see in the most successful companies? And what are the problems that you see in those three kind of ways to be able to orchestrate large scale success?
I think the first two, you have to pour all your energy into, and you have to realize, regardless of changing environments, if you stay true to these two and pivot with the
vision, culture, or culture, vision. Yeah.
Those have to remain consistent, not just for the consumer, but for your people, your long-term people. Because if not, they get confused and don't understand. This will pivot.
The strategy.
The strategy will pivot all the time. That can be based on failure, success, time, market share,
technology, whatever.
Who knows, right? But this never has to shift. This doesn't have to shift with this. No, moving the bigger the boat, the harder it is to turn it. And so if you have inconsistency on those other two, it's like having, back in the old days where you had 100 people on each side rowing the boat. If there's inconsistency on that and every other oar is paddling in the wrong direction, it makes it almost impossible to turn in real time. And so I think that's a really good analogy.
Like when a new CEO comes in to change the culture.
Well, either that or...
I'm sure when you came in co-CEOs, you were changing culture and vision sometimes inside the company because it was flawed or it was hypocritical or inconsistent.
Well, yeah. So I don't even look at that as changing. I would look at it as clarifying.
Okay.
Right. So
what if it was all messed up?
Well, but the same thing, you still have to clarify.
Okay.
Right. So you don't have culture if it's not clear.
Yeah.
You just have some shit that you're saying.
Okay.
And people understand that. I've seen meetings where what's the culture? And if it's on the wall and you go to a meeting and people, yell it out. Then I'm like, so what does that mean to you? Like, how does that actually impact your life? I don't know. Well, okay. Well, then that's a problem. And so I don't care who you are. I don't care how great you are. I don't care how great you think your company is. You are going to have to pivot over here at some point, and you need those people. So to me, it's not even close.
Right.
These are the two things that drive that push the boat forward. And those are required in moments of pivot.
Clarify your culture, clarify your vision.
Yep. And decide if there needs to be a change.
And get that as clean and consistent and non-hypocritical as you can get it.
Yes.
Inside and out.
Inside and out.
And then be adaptable with strategy.
That's right.
So long as it aligns with your vision and your culture.
That's right. It's easier said than done.
Like I use Chick-fil-A all the time.
Oh my God.
They could make $650 million extra
Open on a
per
Sunday.
year being open on a Sunday.
Imagine
but
that.
it doesn't align with their culture and their vision.
What a perfect example.
Right?
Right.
So they're not going to adapt to that.
They are not.
Even though shareholders would like them to or whatever.
Yep.
They're just not going
And think about how meaningful that is, because consistency is like a Jenga puzzle, right? You could pour into that for years or even generations. And then you take out that one piece and now you've created instability in something that used to be rock solid.
What would happen if Chick-fil-A opened on Sundays?
On the surface, you could argue that maybe nothing.
I think they would suffer.
Potentially.
Internally,
Potentially.
I think their culture would suffer, their vision would
They
suffer.
are religious based. People don't know this. I looked at the FDDs.
Oh, for sure.
They are very profound in their religious beliefs. So agreed.
But I think it's a cultural belief, even if it wasn't a religious belief. They just decided to do that for the sake of their employees and everything
Sunday
else.
could be 100 other things that you decided to do or not to do. Agreed. But to your point, whether it destroyed them or not, when you start going against your culture and things like that, it's just like if you're not improving in your business, you're failing. You don't even realize it.
Yeah.
If you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. It's the same thing. That's what people don't understand. It's almost like they test the water on things that they know they shouldn't do. And then they do it and they're like, oh, that wasn't that bad. Yeah, well, guess what? The bad stuff shows up like 3 years later.
You didn't feel it now.
Yeah, that's right.
My check's not going down. My team is, but my check's not.
I wonder what's going on. And then you start to blame them.
Mm-hmm.
And so it becomes this toxic situation versus accountability.
Yeah.
Take some accountability.
Business growth, business scale, philosophy about how to turn difficult situation into a good situation. All this has been great. We're going to have a part 2.
I feel like we barely get started.
Yeah, I know. We could go for a long time, talk about a lot of different things. I'm looking forward to that.
Me too, my friend.
But Derik Fay, I want to thank you for your time today.
Yeah.
We will do it again very, very soon.
I'll be back.
My brother.
Thanks, brother.
So that's our conversation with Derik Fay. I know we'll probably circle back to do another one. But for now, I hope you got value. And if you did, please make sure you subscribe to this podcast. Make sure you share this with a friend. I know that they'll be happy that you did it. And until next time, go out there and make your life amazing. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.